The shadow from the stars. Dr. Elena Novak stood motionless on the observatory deck, her eyes fixed on a holographic display floating before her. The anomaly had appeared 48 hours ago, a distortion in space that defied every known law of physics. What began as a pinprick of darkness beyond Jupiter's orbit had expanded into a vortex large enough to swallow Earth's moon. "Anything new?" asked Commander Jackson, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of the display. Elena shook her head. "Nothing we can understand. It's as if space itself is being folded. The energy readings are impossible." The International Space Coalition had ordered complete silence on the matter. No leaks to the press, no public announcements. Panic would only make things worse. But as the anomaly grew, hiding it became impossible. Amateur astronomers around the globe began posting images online. Theories spread like wildfire. A black hole, a wormhole, divine intervention, the apocalypse. Truth arrived on a Tuesday morning. The vortex birthed ships, massive vessels constructed of material that absorbed light rather than reflected it. 7 of them, each the size of Manhattan, emerging in perfect formation. Earth's most powerful telescopes could barely capture details of their surfaces, which seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal frozen in time. "We're receiving a transmission," reported Lieutenant Chen, her fingers flying across the communication panel. "It's broadcasting on all frequencies. Every radio, television, phone, and computer on the planet is receiving it simultaneously." The message was simple. "We are the harvesters. Your world has been selected. Resistance is inefficient. No demands, no negotiations, just a statement of fact." Within hours, the ships deployed smaller craft, thousands of them, that entered Earth's atmosphere. Military forces worldwide launched counterattacks. Fighter jets scrambled. Missile systems activated. Nuclear deterrents prepared for the unthinkable. It made no difference. The harvester vessels absorbed or redirected everything thrown at them. Energy weapons dissipated harmlessly against their hulls. Missiles detonated prematurely or were simply swallowed whole, disappearing into the strange material of the alien craft. Then the harvesters began their work. They targeted Earth's natural resources, not just minerals and metals, but water, soil, and even atmospheric gases. Giant extraction pillars descended from the ships, driving deep into the planet's crust. Where they touched down, everything within a 5-mile radius was simply consumed. Cities, forests, mountains, all reduced to their component elements and drawn upward in spiraling columns of disintegrated matter. New York disappeared in 19 minutes, Beijing in 24, Cairo in 17. 3 billion lives extinguished in the first day alone. Elena found herself at the United Nations emergency bunker beneath Geneva, one of the few major cities still intact due to its proximity to Cern, where the world's foremost scientists had gathered in a desperate attempt to understand the enemy. "They're not just taking our resources," Elena explained to the room of haggard officials and military leaders. "They're harvesting the entire biosphere, systematically breaking down and extracting every element of our planet." "For what purpose?" demanded the British Prime Minister, one of only 8 world leaders who had survived the initial attack. Professor Wei Min, a quantum physicist from Beijing, who had been lecturing in Geneva when his home city was consumed, stepped forward. "We believe they convert matter to energy more efficiently than any process we've observed. They're essentially turning Earth into fuel." "How long?" asked General Santos of the Philippine Armed Forces. Wei's expression darkened. "At current extraction rates, complete planetary consumption within 2 weeks." The room fell silent. Humanity faced extinction, not through war, but through methodical disassembly. Their planet was being eaten alive. Elena's team had been analyzing data from every available sensor trained on the harvester ships. There was something odd about their behavior during solar flares. The extraction pillars temporarily reduced activity when particularly strong electromagnetic pulses from the sun reached Earth. "They have a vulnerability. Elena announced, projecting her findings onto the main screen. Their molecular disassembly technology appears to be disrupted by specific electromagnetic frequencies. Can we weaponize that? General Santos leaned forward, the first flicker of hope lighting his eyes. Possibly, Elena replied. But we'd need to generate electromagnetic pulses far stronger than anything we've ever created. We'd need... CERN, interrupted Professor Way. The Large Hadron Collider, if we modify it to generate pulses rather than contain particles. Elena nodded. We could create an electromagnetic disruption significant enough to destabilize their extraction process, but we'd need to do it globally, not just here. The room erupted in conversation. It was a desperate plan, but it was the only one they had. Commander Jackson stood up. How long to modify CERN? 3 days, minimum, Professor Way replied. But the collider alone won't be enough. We need to create a global network of electromagnetic pulse generators, all synchronized to the exact same frequency. General Santos gestured to his aide. Get me secure communications with every remaining military installation worldwide. We need to coordinate the construction of these pulse generators using any available equipment. As the military began their preparations, Elena and Professor Way led a team to CERN. The facility had been designed for physics research, not as a weapon, but desperate times demanded desperate measures. They worked without rest, converting the particle accelerator into what Way called the world's largest EMP cannon. The theory was sound, but untested. They would get only one chance. By the 5th day, the harvesters had consumed nearly 40% of Earth's surface. The extraction pillars moved methodically across continents, leaving nothing but bare planetary core in their wake. The surviving human population, less than 2 billion now, had retreated to areas not yet targeted. Then they discovered something unexpected. The harvesters appeared to prioritize regions with high concentrations of certain elements. They were consuming the planet in a specific pattern, beginning with areas rich in rare earth metals and radioactive materials. This gives us time, Elena told the Emergency Council. We can predict their movements and complete Project Phoenix before they reach our remaining facilities. Project Phoenix, named for the mythical bird reborn from ashes, was humanity's last hope. Using CERN as the central hub, they would create synchronized electromagnetic pulses from 53 points around the globe, generating a resonance frequency that would, theoretically, disrupt the harvester's molecular disassembly technology. On the 7th day, as the extraction pillars approached Geneva, Elena received an unexpected message. Dr. Hiroshi Takahashi, a colleague who had been working at the Deep Space Observation Center in Chile when the harvesters arrived, had managed to decode more of their transmissions. They're not just consuming, his message explained. They're cataloging. Every element, every compound, every life form. It's all being stored as data before physical extraction. They've done this before, Elena. Many times. We're not the first world they've harvested, and we won't be the last. This revelation changed nothing about their plan, but it transformed their understanding. The harvesters weren't malevolent. They were methodical. Earth was just another resource to be cataloged, consumed, and converted. Humanity had become nothing more than an inconvenient species occupying a resource-rich planet. As the last components of Project Phoenix fell into place, Elena stood with Professor Wee in CERN's modified control room. Outside, the sky had turned an unnatural violet as the extraction process altered atmospheric gases. The rumble of the approaching harvester ships vibrated through the floor. "Will it work?" asked Wei, his voice barely audible over the facility's humming machinery. Elena looked at the monitors showing the 53 pulse generators positioned around what remained of their world, makeshift devices constructed from satellite dishes, power plants, radio towers, and whatever technology had survived. "It has to. It has to," she replied. Commander Jackson entered, his uniform torn and dirty from helping evacuate nearby communities. "The harvesters will be within range in 17 minutes. All pulse generators report ready status. Elena nodded, a strange calm settling over her. The greatest scientific minds left on Earth had poured everything into this last desperate effort. If it failed, humanity would join countless other species catalogued and consumed by the harvesters. But humans had always been stubbornly resistant to extinction. Begin synchronization sequence, she ordered, and humanity prepared for its final stand. The Defiance Protocol. The control room at CERN vibrated with tension as the countdown reached its final moments. Elena's hand hovered over the activation switch, her eyes fixed on the monitor showing the approaching harvester vessels. Synchronization complete, Professor Wei announced. All 53 pulse generators are aligned at the target frequency. General Santos' voice crackled over the comm system. Harvester extraction pillars deploying. They've detected our energy signature. We're out of time. Elena took a deep breath. Initiating Project Phoenix, she pressed the switch. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then, simultaneously, the 53 pulse generators around the world activated, sending precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulses through the Earth's magnetic field. The pulses converged, amplifying each other, creating a resonant wave that encompassed the planet. The effect was immediate and unexpected. The extraction pillars, which had been descending toward CERN and other strategic locations, froze mid-deployment. The strange fluid-like material of the harvester ships began to ripple and distort, as if struggling to maintain cohesion. "It's working," Commander Jackson shouted, pointing at the monitors. But their celebration was premature. After 30 seconds, the electromagnetic resonance began to fade. The harvester ships stabilized, their extraction pillars resuming their descent. The pulse wasn't strong enough, Professor Wei said, desperation edging his voice. "We need more power." Elena's mind raced. They had channeled every available watt of electricity into the pulse generators. There was nothing left to give. Except the harvesters themselves, she whispered, a dangerous idea forming. "What?" We looked at her, confused. "They convert matter to energy more efficiently than anything we've ever seen," Elena explained rapidly. "If we could somehow redirect that energy back into our pulse generators, use their own power against them." Commander Jackson caught on immediately, like creating a feedback loop. "Exactly," Elena confirmed. "But we'd need to physically connect to their extraction pillars, modify our equipment on the fly." General Santos, listening over the comm, broke in. "I have special forces teams standing by worldwide. Tell us what they need to do." The next hour was a blur of frantic activity. Elena and Professor Wei redesigned the pulse generator connections while military teams prepared for what amounted to suicide missions. The plan was simple but devastatingly dangerous. Teams would approach active extraction pillars and attach modified conductors designed to redirect the harvester's own energy back into Earth's electromagnetic field. "If this works," White told Elena as they finished the last modifications, "the feedback loop will grow exponentially. The more energy they try to extract, the stronger our disruption becomes," Elena finished. But the teams would need to place the conductors directly on active pillars. The mortality rate would be 100%, Commander Jackson said flatly. "And we have no shortage of volunteers." 50 teams deployed worldwide, each carrying a modified conductor. They approached the extraction pillars, massive columns of swirling energy that broke down matter at the molecular level. To step within the active radius meant certain death. Elena watched the operation unfold through body cameras. In Moscow, a team of Russian cosmonauts reached an extraction pillar consuming what remained of the city. In the Amazon, Brazilian special forces navigated the partially consumed rainforest. Near Mount Fuji, Japanese self-defense force engineers approached a pillar that had already reduced half the mountain to its component elements. One by one, the teams attached their conductors. One by one, they were consumed, their matter broken down and drawn upward into the harvester ships. But their sacrifice fulfilled its purpose. Each conductor established, for a brief moment, a direct connection between the extraction energy and Earth's electromagnetic field. When the final conductor activated, Elena engaged the pulse generators once more. This time, the effect was catastrophic for the harvesters. Their own extraction energy, billions of watts of power, fed directly into Earth's electromagnetic field. The pulse generators amplified it, creating a resonant tsunami that engulfed the planet. The extraction pillars didn't just stop, they reversed. Matter that had been drawn upward began to fall back to Earth in a rain of disassembled elements. The harvester ships shuddered violently, their liquid metal hulls losing cohesion. The feedback loop is working, Wei shouted over the deafening hum that now filled the control room. Their own technology is tearing them apart. Elena stared at the monitors in disbelief as the 7 massive harvester ships began to collapse in on themselves. They had harnessed the fundamental forces of physics to consume worlds, and now those same forces were being turned against them. The largest of the ships, positioned over what remained of the Pacific Ocean, was the first to break apart. Its hull shattered like glass, revealing a complex interior structure that immediately began to disintegrate. The others followed in rapid succession, huge sections breaking off and burning up in Earth's atmosphere, creating a meteor shower of alien technology. "They're retreating," General Santos announced. Smaller harvester craft were rapidly ascending, abandoning the extraction operation, fleeing toward the spatial vortex that had brought them. "Keep the pulse generators running," Elena ordered. "Don't let them regroup." For 3 more hours, they maintained the electromagnetic disruption as the remaining harvester forces withdrew. The vortex beyond Jupiter's orbit flickered, destabilized by the same resonance affecting the ships, and finally collapsed entirely. When the last harvester signature disappeared from their sensors, Elena finally allowed herself to breathe. She looked at the status displays. Only 42% of Earth remained intact. The rest had been consumed before they could stop the extraction process. The cost had been unimaginable. 5 billion human lives lost. Entire continents reduced to their base elements. The planet's ecosystem irrevocably altered. But humanity had survived. 6 months later, Elena stood on a hilltop overlooking what remained of Geneva. The city was being rebuilt, not as it was, but as something new. The strange rainfall of disassembled elements had created unprecedented resources, perfectly pure metals, rare compounds, and materials with properties scientists were only beginning to understand. The Planetary Restoration Council is meeting today. Commander Jackson, now Director Jackson of Earth's Unified Defense Force, said as he joined her. They're voting on the expansion of the arcology projects. The arcologies, vast, self-contained habitats, had become humanity's answer to the devastated ecosystem. Using recovered harvester technology, they had developed new methods of atmospheric regeneration, resource management, and energy production. "And the deep space monitoring system?" Elena asked. "Fully operational," Jackson confirmed. "If the harvesters, or anything else, approaches our solar system, we'll know." Elena nodded, her eyes fixed on the horizon. Dr. Takahashi's team had continued decoding the data recovered from harvester wreckage. They now knew the aliens had harvested hundreds of worlds across the galaxy, methodically consuming resources and moving on. Earth was simply next on their list, until humanity had done what apparently no other species had managed. They had fought back. They had survived. "The cultivation of the new Amazon basin is showing promising results," Jackson continued. "The modified organisms are adapting to the altered soil composition. Professor Wei believes we could see a functional rainforest within a decade. From catastrophe had come innovation. From near extinction had come unity. The nations of Earth, faced with rebuilding a partially consumed planet, had set aside their differences and worked together in ways previously unimaginable. We've received the first transmissions from the Mars expedition," Jackson added. "The colony construction is ahead of schedule." Humanity was no longer confined to a single world. The harvester threat had accelerated space exploration from necessity. If Earth could not be fully restored, humanity would expand to other planets, other stars. Elena smiled faintly. They came to consume us. Instead, they made us stronger. As the sun set over the altered landscape of their wounded but recovering world, humanity continued to rebuild, to adapt, and to prepare. The universe had revealed itself to be more dangerous than they had imagined, but also filled with possibilities they were only beginning to understand. The harvesters had wanted to destroy them, but humanity had refused to surrender. And in that defiance, they had discovered their greatest strength.